In 2008, Bethesda gave us Fallout 3, my first Fallout game, and just 2 years later, Obsidian gave us Fallout New Vegas. But what exactly changed over those 2 years? So in this video, guys, we're going to be doing a direct comparison of Fallout 3 versus Fallout New Vegas to see how they stack up against one another when it comes to attention to detail. And though these games may look similar on the surface, it'll be fun to see what things did change between these two games. And guys, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it for you guys. And if you do like the video, be sure to drop a like on it. It helps the little video reach new fans, which is always a great thing. And I make new videos like the ones you're watching right now every single week. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. But guys, let's dive into the video. Beginning with who you are between the two games, in Fallout 3 you are, like in most Fallout games, a vault dweller who has spent most of their life inside the safety of a vault but is now venturing out into the wasteland in this game to find their father. While New Vegas is one of the few Fallout games where you do not play as a vault dweller but instead are a no-name nobody known as the Courier, who actually starts the game getting shot in the head, buried alive, and is now looking for whoever's responsible. Moving on down to the differences between the game's settings, in Fallout 3 it takes place in the capital wasteland amongst the twisted rebar and concrete of the ruins of Washington, D.C. While New Vegas is set in the deserts of the Mojave Wasteland and has a bit more western vibes, with New Vegas itself being like a shining beacon in the sands. Moving on to one of my favorite changes, in Fallout 3 whenever you aim any weapon, the camera zooms in along the side of the weapon in order to give you a little bit of extra accuracy. While in New Vegas, whenever you go to aim, you actually get to aim down the sights of your weapon, which is a huge improvement from Fallout 3 to Fallout New Vegas. Another change that I really appreciate is that even though Fallout 3 and New Vegas share a lot of similar guns, they actually went and re-recorded new audio for those same guns in New Vegas so that they felt new and fresh. Take a listen. Moving on to player movement, there's actually different walking and running animations between Fallout 3 and New Vegas, but in Fallout 3 in particular, whenever you're in third person, it doesn't really feel like your character is making contact with the ground as you're moving through the environment. It's more noticeable whenever you're running, as it feels like you're skating above the surface of the ground as opposed to running on it. While in New Vegas, it feels like this has been fixed with the new walking and running animations, as with every step, it actually feels like your character is making contact with the ground, whether you're walking or running through the environment. And speaking of player movement, I thought it was pretty cool that they actually changed the animations that your character has whenever they are injured, because they're completely different between the two games. I think this is pretty cool because I feel like for the most part, most games would have just reused these animations, but they didn't. They remade the animations for your character, and it's these small differences that make the games feel different from one another, even though they only came out 2 years apart. Another interesting detail that I noticed is that in Fallout 3, whenever you unequip a weapon, he takes the gun and takes it over his shoulder and onto his back, with the stock going over his right shoulder. Your character in Fallout 3 will do this with every rifle in the game, as you can see with this hunting rifle, while in New Vegas, whenever you do this exact same thing, he takes the hunting rifle behind his back and onto his back with the barrel going over his left shoulder, which is inverted from what he does in Fallout 3. And just like Fallout 3, your character will do this with every rifle in the game, and I just find it interesting that they flipped it from Fallout 3 to New Vegas. And speaking of weapons, and even though I love the weapons of Fallout 3, I gotta say it's pretty cool that with Fallout New Vegas' more western vibe, that they added more western style guns to the game. Lots of repeaters and lever action weapons that really sell this Wild West Vegas feel that they're trying to go for with New Vegas. Moving on now to a comparison of the explosions between the two games. In Fallout 3, whenever I throw this frag grenade and it explodes, you'll notice that it throws a bunch of like dirt and mud and muck up into the air. It looks pretty cool, and not to mention that whenever the grenade does explode, it does leave a blast mark on the ground. Whereas in Fallout New Vegas, whenever I do this exact same thing, it doesn't throw any dirt or debris up into the air, and I also noticed that whenever the grenades go off, it doesn't leave a blast mark on the ground, which I found pretty interesting. Moving on now to a comparison of the water physics between the two games, and whenever I shot the surface of the water in Fallout 3, the ripple effect was really impressive, and it looks exactly the same in Fallout New Vegas, and I gotta say, I think it looks more impressive in these two games than it actually does in Fallout 4, which is pretty cool. But the real differences here came whenever I tested explosives in the water. In Fallout 3, as you can see, the grenade actually has a splash effect with a ripple when the grenade hits the surface of the water, and then when the explosion itself happens, it throws a bunch of water in the air, and it lasts a bit longer than what we see in New Vegas, whereas in New Vegas, the grenade doesn't have a splash or a ripple effect when it hits the water at all, and the water explosive effect doesn't really last as long as what we saw in Fallout 3. Moving on now to a quick comparison of the lighting between the two games, I noticed a cool effect in both Fallout 3 and New Vegas that whenever you walk up to a light source like this fire pit, that your shadow is casted away from the light source, as it should be. This appears in both games, but I did notice that in some circumstances in Fallout 3 and New Vegas that certain light sources didn't give off hardly any light at all and had no effect on your shadow. Both games do this the exact same way, and I just found it interesting that certain light sources could do this while others could not. Which leads me to my next comparison, which is less of an actual comparison and more of me just wanting to show off the awesome atomic car explosions that are present in Fallout 3. I love them to death. They look awesome with their cool mushroom clouds, and I really just wanted to throw them in the video, whereas in Fallout New Vegas, most of the cars in that game are already destroyed and they won't explode, and even the cars that look like they might explode, it doesn't matter how much you shoot them, they just won't explode, which is kind of a shame, but honestly, I just wanted to throw this in here because I love the explosions. They look great, so that's what I'm going to do. Well guys, you made it to the end. This has been my direct comparison of Fallout 3 versus Fallout New Vegas. And honestly, when it comes to which game I think is better, it's so hard for me to decide. I love Fallout 3. It was my first Fallout game, and I adore that game for its exploration, its combat, everything about it. I love it. But Fallout New Vegas, I played much later, but Fallout New Vegas, I feel like its world is more malleable, and you can shape it with your decisions a bit more than you can in Fallout 3. I feel like New Vegas is, in that respect, is a bit more replayable. Not saying that, one of these games is better than the other, that one is bad or anything like that. I personally adore both of these games, and I hope you guys do as well. But guys, that's all I have for the video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like on it. I'd really appreciate it because it helps the little video reach new fans, which is always a good thing. And if you feel like supporting the channel even further, other than subscribing, check out my memberships. There's cool perks and things over there. I'd really appreciate it. But guys, as I said, that's all I have for this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.